Okay, straight ahead would be the retaining wall that's still there in the ore crusher foundation, and the wooden tipple would have been right here. And of course, the rail bed is raised right here. Okay, and straight through those trees would have been the cable hoist house. So over here in this direction, they had two rail sidings for the empty rail cars of TCI and what used to be the Birmingham Mineral Railroad. So, like I said, not the best time to come up here. Better time is in the winter months when you can see more. But anyway, that's just a look straight ahead towards the where the number 11 wooden tipple would have been, ore tipple and ore crusher. Okay, this is still looking back to the southwest, and the this was originally known as the Spring Gap Mine. It was opened in 1895 by TCI under contract with Robinson Mining Company. That's the company that handled the mining. And this line was built about by the Birmingham Mineral Railroad, Louisville and Nashville's Birmingham Mineral Railroad Division. It was built between 1890 and 1895, coming from the southwest from Bessemer. So in 1895, this is as far to the northeast as they had gotten. Looking back in that direction, when they further extended the line, that would have gone to later on what would be called the Clinton or Steinman mine, and then to Ishkooda number 13 and 14 mines. But like I said, this was opened in 1895, and it was called Spring Gap because down, way down in that holler right there, there was a natural underground aquifer, a spring, and so it was named Spring Gap. So, but they built, put a lot of money in. They built this huge, long retaining wall right here, and they had actually two rail car sidings right here, where the empty rail cars would be pulled up, and you had a Gates or McCullough gyratory crusher that sat on top. When this first opened, you know, everything was steam powered, converted to electricity that would operate the ore crusher, and probably the power, the main engine was probably right over here to operate the ore crusher. But the wooden tipple was about 70 feet high, and it came off in this direction right here. It was at an angle. It was kind of unique. Instead of straight like you see most of them, this was at an angle. But incredible. They've done a really nice job, the park has, keeping all this cleared up. This is the first time I've really ever seen this cleared. So really, really nice. But the cable hoist house was back this way. Further back, the boiler house was just below. And then in the late 30s, you know, they converted everything. They tore everything down because everything was electrical, and they built a new cable hoist house. But this was a very, very deep mine. The ore seam was about 15 feet thick on average. So in about 1917, the Tennessee Coal-Iron and Railroad Company purchased the entire North Branch rail line from the Louisville and Nashville Railroad's Birmingham Mineral Division, and this was what later became the famous part of the famous Highline Railroad. But anyway, there's some great historic photographs of this in operation. But huge wooden tipple. When this was really going, the skip cars coming out of the mine would actually, every 4 minutes, they would be sent back down in the mine, come back out, dump a new load of ore into the waiting rail cars. So, but really, really nice, man, that they have cleaned all this up. Really is. You couldn't even walk back through here. It was so bad. So hopefully they keep it like this because it's nice. It's a great piece of mining history for the Birmingham district. So we'll walk on down here a little bit, and then we'll walk up the trail to where the number 11 mine site is, the actual where the portal was. Okay, this is just a look towards the ore crusher foundation and the retaining wall. You can see there's a second retaining wall right here, runs behind the ore crusher with stacked rocks. Those have probably been there since 1895 when the mine was opened. So, like I said, the tipple came out of that at an angle right here, way up there, about 70 feet high. So, massive wooden tipple. And the cable hoist house sat at an angle down here. And later years, what they did, because the cable hoist was 1.75 inches, and that thing was tight when it was being pulled. So they actually had steel girder post right here for cable guides in case that cable snapped. it wouldn't cut a man in half. But they stretched all the way up here, all the way to the top of the tipple right there. So you had the bull wheel up there that went kept the cable hoist in place. So, but anyway, like I said, the cable hoist house, the basement remains are still down there. I can include some photographs of that. I don't really feel like going down into all this overgrowth right here. That right there, the foundation, that's where some of the steel supports were mounted right here. The cable hoist house is further down. So back down this way, you can still see some yellow TCI painted all the rails for safety. They painted them yellow. You can see some of the steps that still go down to get to the cable hoist house. So we'll proceed on down here to where the used to be, they had a rail line going up here. So we'll just proceed on down there before we walk on up here to where the mine portal is. You can still see where some of the cross ties are still in place. It's amazing that they've lasted this long. They're just slowly being eroded away. But this is where it broke off for the spur section for the rail cars. So okay, there's a look at the remains of some of the safety rails. They were all painted yellow for safety, because right below that section of rail is a nice drop for, it's a retaining wall, so it's a nice drop off. There's a set of stairs back down this way, and straight back that way you can see some, you might not be able to see it with all this overgrowth. Let's see. Right there, right back down in there, straight ahead would be where the cable hoist house was. This was when this mine was opened in 1895. They had a boiler house. This was actually where the coal dock was. They had a rail line split off from the main line right here. And this is where the coal was deposited, because you had to have coal to operate the boiler plant. So coal was being delivered up here about every week. So sometime in the late 1930s, They dismantled the boiler house and built a new cable hoist house. He converted the all electricity with I believe it was a huge General Electric uh, hoist cable, uh, which was, I think it would stretch out. It stretched out over a mile underground. So, but anyway, that's just some of the remains right here. It's pretty impressive. You can see how the railings go all the way down right there. So this was a huge mine operation right here. The what later became the Ishkooda number 11 mine. So anyway, we'll go back up here and walk down a little bit further. Okay, this is looking to the southwest. This is part of the Red Mountain Park's North Branch walking trail. And this railbed, of course, used to be the part of the Birmingham Railroad's North Branch. Like I said, that was they started building on this section of the line coming from the South Branch, which is the South Branch walking trail today in the park. That was the first branch line to open for the Birmingham Railroad, I believe, in 1886. So years later, they were able to come to the other side because the mining companies had started moving their operations, most of them over to the north side. As the mining got deeper, they needed bigger facilities, so they couldn't do it on the south side. So, but anyway, TCI, they acquired this from L&N, Birmingham Railroad, around 1917. By 1925, with all the work they had done to build their Highline Railroad, this is what it became part of. But like I said, you can still see the remains of the one of the rail lines right here. And this is looking to the northeast. The cable hoist house would have been down in that direction, along with the boiler house. But this retaining wall right here, the siding, when they were delivering supplies, material for the mine, for TCI, such as the biggest component they were using were rails, to take up into the mine. They had a chain hoist right here, crane and a chain hoist. So the flatbed cars would come up over here on this side, chain hoist. They would lift up pull the rails up and put them on flat cars. Right here, you can still see the remains of the rail line right here. And straight ahead, these, all the rail cars right here for the mine, loaded with the equipment, would be pulled by a cable hoist located further up next to the mine in front of it. And it went all the way up the side of the mountain and down in front of where the mine entrance was. So, but it was a big cable chain hoist right here, and this is how they got the equipment inside the mine. Some of the latest equipment in the 50s, they were going to what was called trackless mining to save time and money with the big, I think they were 25, 30-ton Jeffrey electric locomotives, along with the mobile shuttle loaders. They would just be chain hoisted, lifted up, put on these cars, and pulled all the way up to the mine entrance, switched over to the tracks. They would take the hoist cable and attach those to these flat rail cars and lower them down into the mine. But anyway, the park doing a really nice job keeping all this cleaned up so people can see. And if you were to come up here with some of these rails, sometimes you can see they still have Tennessee Coal, Iron, and Railroad Company. Like that one, might not be able to see it. But all these rails were made at the TCI's Inslee Works, the open hearth rolling mill. And TCI was one of the biggest producers in the United States of rails. So all these rails that you see, they all come from Inslee. So you can still see some of the remains of the cross ties there. So we were going to proceed on up the trail, which was actually the rail bed leading up to the mine. Okay, just a little side note right here. If all that kudzu and everything and overgrowth wasn't here, you would be, back in the day, you'd see where the rail siding went off to the coal dock and the boiler house. There's some great early 1900 photographs of when it was in operation, what it looked like. And like I said, the cable hoist house would have been straight down in here. Okay, that's looking back in the direction of where the loading platform was and where the chain hoist was. And you've got some more foundations right here. This kind of escapes me for a minute what this was. But this was actually, it's a trail now, but this was actually a rail line that went all the way up to the mine entrance here. So we'll go ahead and make our way on up the trail here. Okay, that is a look back down the trail, which this used to be a rail bed right here, leading back down to the loading dock. And look down below, that's where the main rail bed is. It's a walking trail now. And standing above where the ore crusher foundation is right here. So like I said, the wooden tipple came up to way somewhere right up there. And like I said, it was at an angle coming up because the mine entrance went in at an angle to go after the ore seam. So anyway, all the contents were dropped out of the skip car, went down through a chute system. Ore was deposited into the gyratory ore crusher. It was chopped up, big rocks and the little rocks, and then it was loaded on the rail cars. In the 1940s, when they opened up the Winona sintering plant, all the ore would be taken down to Winona to the big central sintering plant, and all the ore be processed, cleaned, burned of impurities, and it was resized. They and then sent to the furnaces at Inslee and Fairfield. So, and that's a look back up the trail. When this was, like I said, when this was open in 1895, they had, there's a trail they call the Sky Trail going up through the cut because there's open ore cuts right up there. They had a multitude of drift mines all on either side. So 1897, 1898, they had actually rails coming out, and they had ore chutes coming out to deposit the ore onto the loading tipple right here. So they had a multitude of openings when they first started mining up here, and you can still see some of the remains even today. Of course, all the mines are closed, but you can still see the where the openings were. So, and looking straight ahead, that would be where the number 11, and used to be known as the Spring Gap mine, would be. Okay, this is we're up top here. This is a look back down the trail. What was the rail line? Right here began the wooden tipple of the number 11 mine. And it just went straight up right here. This foundation right here next to the steps for the trail, this is where they had the little cable hoist house. And this is what would they had a little cable hoist in here, and this is what would pull the flatbed rail cars with the rails and the all the new equipment that they would send down in the mine. This went on just about several times a week, sending stuff down into the mine. So up here is the remains of open ore mining for this area, and also the remains of where drift mine openings were going all the way up what is now a trail. And they had one elevated wooden tipple that went across and met with this tipple where they deposited ore from the drift mines up here. And it's the same way for the other side over there. But this is where the little cable hoist was. Okay, so this is looking where the tipple started. And down below would be the ore crusher, the retaining wall, the rail lines where the rail cars would be, empty rail cars would be stacked up. And this right here is the remains of the tally house, the check house. Right here, you have the foundation, and it was just sheet metal, steel sheet metal for the covering. And they, in the late 30s, they, rebuilt or rehabilitated everything for this mine. So, and straight ahead would be where the entrance to the number 11 mine was. Okay, so this is the basement remains of the tally house, check house, right here. I'm sure a lot of people come by here probably maybe wonder what in the world this is. But this is all the remains of that. And this is looking straight up to where the loading tipple was. So right here is your entrance to the Spring Gap mine. Then later changed to the Ishkooda number 11 mine. And the reason why that is because it was part of the Ishkooda division series of mines. TCI had 3 separate mining divisions on the mountain: Ishkooda, Winona, and Muskota. So this was part of the Ishkooda group. The other Ishkooda mines were 13, 14, and 15. So that's a look. You can see the mine was sealed up in the early 1970s to keep people from going in there. So this is just like I said, the remains of the tally house. It's a good place when you're hiking up here to, if it's raining, lightning, or anything, it's a good place to get out from the weather. Okay, the miners, when they came from the bathhouse and walked up here, they would come here to the check house, walk up these stairs right here, and this is where they would get on the man trip cars that would carry them down into the mine. And when they came back out, this is where they would exit, right here. So it's kind of hard to believe. You look at this, there was a giant wooden tipple right there. So there's some good photographs of the mine when it was in operation. Try to include them in the video here. Okay, when this mine was opened in 1895, like I said, they had a series of drift mines along with the main slope here. Had a series of drift mines going up in this direction, and they had a series of drift mines going up that side too. And they had a couple of chutes, ore chutes, that stretched out over from the drift mines that were furthest away and deposited ore from those drift mines over there down into a small siding they had just to handle the drift mines that were operated over here that were part of this mine site. So, in the early 1900s, it was changed over and given the name Ishkooda number 11 because TCI started numbering all their mines. So this mine went for several miles underneath the valley. It went from average anywhere from a 9 to a 21 degree down angle. So when it was in full operation in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, from this point, from the mine entrance to the main loading pocket, the ore loading pocket was a little over a mile underground, and it was the loading pocket was the surface depth to the loading pocket was over 1,000 feet deep. So way down there by the loading pocket, over 1,000 feet deep, this was basically like a small city. They had underground repair yards, shops, everything that the miners would need to repair equipment underground. So you had blacksmiths, electricians, carpenters, everything. They also had break rooms down there located near the loading pocket. But everything that this mine might need to repair equipment and maintain the equipment was located deep underground. Like I said, it was like a small city. In the 1950s, they actually, I think it was 1952 or so, they actually included underground television cameras around the loading pocket to where the men working the loading pocket could monitor the mine cars being automatically dumped over with the ore being deposited down into the loading pocket. This mine was connected with all the other mines. The Winona mines, the Ishkooda mines, they were all connected. About 2 miles away and located in this direction on the other side, in the 1940s, they built a air shaft for the number 10 mine, which is located further to the southwest, and for this mine. And they had to sink the air shaft down over 1,000 feet to suck down fresh air, send fresh air down through the mine. So they had about 5 or 6, I think about 6 air shafts located down in the valley and on the south side of the mountain. Huge undertaking, man. The money that it cost to operate these mines must have been staggering. But they were pulling a profit with bringing this ore out. The manway, which is sealed, was located up over here. And in the 1920s and 30s, they reconverted just about all the manways for the water pipelines because they were always pumping water out. So the water pipelines came out of the manway and they actually crossed right here over the top of the portal, which was actually a wooden, had a wooden cover. Didn't have a concrete cover. It didn't say. It had a wooden portal. Had said number 11 on it. And the water pipes were carried down this way. Some of the water for the mining camp was pumped out of the mines and went through a filtration system. So, but this was, like I said, a very active mine. The ore seam was about 15 feet thick, and it stayed in operation. Sometimes they would have to close due to a downturn in the economy, such as the Depression. But World War I, World War I, World War II, post World War II, mines were 24/7. So it's hard to believe that every 4 minutes, a 12-ton skip car would come rocketing out of here up to the temple behind me and deposit the ore. These things operated about 40 miles an hour going up and down the slope. So, but it's Nice piece of history up here. They got it well preserved up here in the park. So, uh, this right here, which is part of the trail, this is the path that the miners would take leaving the site. They would take this down all the way down. There's a trail going back down to the rail bed. I'll cover it. And it went back down to the bathhouse. So, in the early days when this mine was in operation, along with most mines, the miners, they had brass tags that they would keep with them. And whenever they would load up a mine cart underground, they would attach their tag to it. And when the mine cart was pulled, well, the ore was pulled out with the on the mine cars. When it would come up here, the everything was done on a signal and bell hoist system for the cable hoist operator down there. They would stop the mine car right here, and the tally house or the check house right here. The foreman would record. He'd take those tags off and record the number on that tag, and that's how the miner got paid. He got paid by the ton. So that was the importance of having the tally house. In later years, this also was part of the check house, and they actually weighed the cars as they were coming out to get an accurate reading of the tons of ore being pulled out per day. But this was also underground for a while. This is where the lamp house was. This is where the miners got their lamps. Before it was carbide lights, and in the 30s, all the mining companies started, converting to electric lights, battery operated electric lights for the miners. So, but anyway, that was the importance of the tally house / check house. So, one of the things I've been told that they're trying to do, I don't know why they didn't do this years ago, but they're trying to get together information to place historical information to place it in front of all these mine sites, so visitors to the park, when they're up here hiking around and they see all these remains, they don't know, they know it's a mine, but they don't know anything about the number, the history, the name of it. So hopefully that information board, which has been blank forever since they put it up, they'll have some photographs and a little history, of this mine. They do at some of the other mine sites, but that's just what I've been told. Why it wasn't done years ago when they had a lot of money poured in is beyond me. I think that was a serious misallocation of valuable resources when you're dealing with a park with so much history. People come out here, they know it's a park where they had mines, but each mine along this mountain has its own unique history. It's like a subculture, because you had generations of people, families that lived in these mining camps. They have their own stories to tell, and their parents, grandparents, relatives all worked in these mines. So each mine had a mining camp or a series of mining camps, and they all have their own history. So hopefully one day they'll put up some information about the mine. I'm not sure why they won't, but anyway, that's a look back right there. The names of the Tally House Foundation and the number 11 mine right here. So, yeah, they when they close these up in the mine, this mine closed down about 1961, along with just about all the mines TCI was operating, and it remained open. They just had a chain link fence, from what I understand, for many years. In the early 70s, they came up here and just sealed everything. So that is reinforced with rail sections, rebar. It's about 20 inches thick, from what I've been told. With the other mines, like number 13, that was open, so this would be about right. So You can see where they just cut right into the rock right here. So anyway, a lot of history. And right up there in between the one little tree and the big one, you can see the remains of the water pipes right there. They cut them. Like I said, they went straight across. And that's look back up this way, and it's kind of hard to believe there was a giant wooden tipple there at one time for decades. So, but all right, and we're going to head up towards this way to the trail where the miners came and went from the bathhouse. Okay, so that is a look back down the path towards the number 11 Spring Gap mine entrance. Right here, there was actually a path going all the way up to the top of the mountain, and somewhere up there, never have been able to find it, was the remains of the powder house. They always kept the powder house way away from the mine entrance where the dynamite was stored. So all this right here back in the 1890s, late 1890s, some of these were drift mines. And as the path goes all the way up there, you can see the remains of the drift mines up there. Try to go up there on my way back out. But right here, they had the Boy Scouts come out here, do a Eagle Scout project, which was really nice. They took some of these cross ties here, tied them in. This is the exact path that the miners would take going to and from the bathhouse and the mining camp way down below. So I'll go down there and try to film that and then come back up here and walk out this way. But this is the route that they would take, going to and from the mine back to the bathhouse. But one of the things that's interesting, you have all the trees and everything growing back up. Even in the 30s and 40s, they had cut down just about every tree on the mountain, right? And those trees were chopped down and they used for timber supports. The whole mountain for decades was actually devoid of trees as you see today. It was just one giant bald looking mountain as far as you could see, going all the way down to Bessemer. It was just devoid of trees. In later years, companies such as Sloss Sheffield, TCI, and Woodward, they actually began their own tree farms. They actually had their own set of forest where they would grow the trees, the timber, and harvest the timber. So a lot of that today was taken over by Kimberly-Clark and Allo West. So much history. Can't put it all in one video. It's probably going to be longer than I anticipated. But anyway, that's a look back down to where the ore crusher and retaining wall would be. And right down below would be the two rail car sightings. Somewhere down there in the trees, I can't believe it, there's actually a lone light pole with the lamp and the bulb still in it. Down there in the trees somewhere, it's still standing. It still has the light bulb in it. So, like I said, this used to be a 24-hour-a-day operation, 3 shifts of miners. So, all right, and we'll head down there, take a look at down where the bathhouse was, and then we'll come back up here, and we're going to be walking up and out of here. Straight up that way is where the Ishkooda number 12 mine would have been. Both these mines went in at the same left angle, and they were joined up deep underground. So after we get down there, we'll come back up and head back up and head out this way. Okay, this is looking back towards the southwest, just around the curve of the trail, what used to be the rail bed, would be the Ishkooda number 11, where the ore tipple was and the crusher. And back down that way would have been the boiler house, the hoist house, in that direction. And back down through this thick overgrowth right here would have been the bathhouse for the Ishkooda number 11 ore miners. So there's a little sign right there. They would have taken this trail and gone all the way up, walked up to where the mine entrance was, where the tally house was, and they would have gotten on man trip cars to take the ride down into the mine. But it's not really, like I said, the best time to come up here and kind of video this with all the overgrowth. But the remains of the bathhouse are down there. It's just a remains of a concrete slab. So the miners, the number 11 mining camp was just down there on the off the road. The houses are still there, many of them. Some of them have been torn down, but that's where the majority of the miners for the Ishkooda number 11 mine, that's where they lived. And they just left their houses, walked up the road to the bathhouse. Some of the miners, you know, they lived in other places and drove their cars up here. But once they, you know, got changed into their work clothes, out of their street clothes, they would just come up a trail right here, walk straight up and head for the mine, and then vice versa when they came out of the mine from their shifts. So that's looking back to the southwest towards the number 11 ore crusher and where the tipple would have been. Okay, looking way down there towards the walking trail where the rail bed was on the north side. Way beyond that was where the bathhouse was. And this is looking back down the trail towards the intersection of where the miners' walkway was coming to and from the bathhouse. And way back down, curving around, is where the Spring Gap / number 11 mine was. And this is a trail that goes up to the number 12 mine, what was called the Smythe mine. And this trail right here, this would take you down to bypass where the number 12 ore crusher foundation, which is pretty cool because it's made of solid brick. And then you would follow that trail, which is actually on the rail bed, part of the High Line. So the number 12 had a separate rail line. But right here in this area, when they were doing the open cut mining and had some drift pines up here, they actually had a wooden trestle, wooden tipple that came out across down here and extended out way down there, extended flat out. And they had what was called self-acting tipples, and they had a little rail siding off the main line. So they had two of these chutes, and the ore that was brought on this side was pushed down on the rail cars, pushed down onto the flat tipple. The mine cars were dumped over on a self-acting tipple and into an empty rail car on the siding down there. So that was actually done in the late 1890s all the way up into the early 1900s. So, but anyway, one day I'll come back and maybe do a video on the number 12 mine, but I think this was enough for the number 11 Spring Gap mine. Probably missed quite a bit of stuff, but just trying to compress all this into, you know, won't be the short, it won't be, probably won't be a short video by the time I'm done with it. But anyway, should have done this in the winter months when you can see more, but what the heck. Anyway, just a little piece of the mining history here on Red Mountain, and that'll pretty much do it for a little early morning field trip out here to this site.